Hello, welcome all. In this video, we will discuss about the functions, which is module 4 in computer programming course in Presidency University. And I am Sneha S. Bagalkot, Assistant Professor in Department of CSE, Presidency University. In the previous video, we have seen the basic fundamentals of functions, the definition of function and the different terminologies used in the function, the broad classification of functions into two types, that is predefined functions and user defined function, and the types of parameters, which is actual parameters and formal parameters, and the four categories of functions based on the parameter and return value. In this video, we will discuss about modular programming. What is modular programming? So in this case, the program is divided into small pieces or small modules. So these modules are nothing but they are also called as functions, procedures, subroutines, or modules. So each of the function or a module is used to perform a specific task. So we can assign a task and we can reuse the same code again and again. So this has the advantage of being easier to implement, easier to code for the user. So we can reduce the number of lines for code and make the code more effective. So in this case, we have four different categories of functions or modular programming based on the parameters and the return type. So in this case, we may have the parameters passed within the function and the function may return a value. So in that case, a return type has to be mentioned. Let us see the first type is without parameter and without return type. In this, we do not pass any parameter and we do not get back any answer from the function. Instead, the value of the parameter can be taken as input within the function and we may print the answer also or the result also within the function. So the first type is no parameter and no return type. The second category is with parameter and with return type. Without parameter but with return type. Here we do not pass the parameter but we will return back the answer to the calling function. So in this case, the parameters are not passed. There is no argument. So input may be taken within the function, but the answer or the result is returned back. So we have to specify the return type. There is no parameter, but there is a return type in the second category. The third category is with parameter, but no return type. So here we may take input, say in the main function and pass that as the actual parameter, but we are not getting back any answer. There is no return type. So in the function itself, we may print the answer. Right? So there may be applications wherein we have parameters, but there is no return type. So that is the third category of functions. The fourth category is with return type and with function parameter. So we have both parameters and return type. So we are going to take input in the calling function, say main, and then pass that as the actual parameter. It will be copied to the parameter in the called function as formal parameters, and we find the answer. The result is returned from the function to main, and there we specify the return type. So here in the fourth category, we have both the parameter as well as the return type. Let us see one single example for all the four categories so that it helps us to differentiate between the categories. We will see the different categories with the help of factorial of a number program. So here we have the programs from the lab sheet 4, right? So which is for module 4. So the problem 1 is for NCR without using functions. So we will discuss that later on because the prerequisite for NCR is we need to find factorial. NCR is nothing but n factorial by n minus r factorial into r factorial. So here we are finding factorial 3 times. So first basic thing is we need to know to find a factorial. So in the previous modules, we have discussed regarding factorial of a number, like arranging the number of books in different ways. So that is factorial of a number. So we will again revisit that problem. So in that problem, we did not use modular programming. We have written the entire code in the main function only. But here we will use functions. So let us see how to do this. So we will find factorial of a number using all the 4 categories one by one. So problem 2 in lab sheet 4 is first category, that is without parameter and without return type. So we know that a factorial of a number, say for example 5 factorial can be found by multiplying 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, which gives us the result as 120. So 5 factorial is 120. Now if we have to trace this, so we can implement by decrementing these values or incrementing these values. So both ways it is possible. So we may start multiplying 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5, or 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So both gives us the result as 120. In this example, we are going to increment. That is, we are going to start from 1. Okay, not from 5. We will start from 1 and then multiply 1 into 2. The result we will multiply with 3. And this result we will multiply with 4. Its result we will multiply with 5. Finally, we will get 120. Let us see the tracing for the same. Right? So let us say we have result initialized to 1, because we are multiplying as the basic operation and 1 is the multiplicative identity. So if we multiply any number by 1, we get back the same number. Hence 1 is called as the multiplicative identity. So we have already got 1. Next number to be multiplied will be 2. Say we take another integer, say I. So start I from 1. Every time increment by 1. So we have seen the similar implementation in factorial. Let us see the tracing. So 1, next number we need to multiply is 2. So 1 into 2. Now we get the result as 2. Now this result has to be multiplied with the next number 3. Right? So 2 into 3, we will get the result as 6. We have multiplied the 3 numbers. Now the result has to be multiplied with 4. 6 into 4. 6 into 4, we get 24. This result has to be multiplied with 5. So 24 into 5, we get the result as 120. So once the value of I is 5, when it gets incremented to 6, we will stop. We have got the factorial of 5 as 120. It is stored in the variable result. Let us see the implementation of the same. We have done this without modular programming. So in the previous lab sheets. So here we will execute the same using functions. So this category says without parameter and without return type. That means we will simply specify the name of the function like this. Please note, in the main, always control starts from main. We just specify the name of the function as fact. Fact is not a keyword. It is a user defined function. So we have to name the function such that it is not a keyword. There is no keyword by name fact. So this is the name we have given to our user defined function. If we observe this line is called as function call. So within bracket, there is nothing mentioned. That means this is without parameter. And we are not storing back the result. We don't specify here as result equal to fact. So we are not getting back the answer in main. Whatever answer is there, we will print it in the function itself. So this is an example for without parameter and without return type. Let us see what happens. Once the compiler encounters function call, the control directly passes to the function definition. So the function definition, we specify the first line is the declaration. As we see, there is no parameter within the bracket. This is without parameter, and since it is without return type, we specify as void. What is void? Void means null, nothing. nothing is returned back. So that is why it is without return type. So let us implement this function. So here we need the value of n. For example, here we have taken 5. So 5 is the value of n, right? N factorial we have to find. So if it is 5, we have to find 5 factorial. So we will start initializing result as 1, and as we have seen, so each and every result we will multiply by I. I starts from 1 and then again increment. So 1 next I becomes 2, 2 less than equal to 5. So we will multiply result 1 into 2, we get 2. Then result is 2 into I becomes 3, we get 6 as the result. Then I becomes 4, 4 still less than equal to 5, right? 6 into 4 we get 24. Similarly, I increments to 5, 5 is less than equal to 5, true, because 5 is equal to 5. Result is 24 into I is 5, we get result as 120. Next, when I is incremented, it becomes 6. 6 less than equal to 5, condition is false. So we have got the result as 120, right? So that is to be printed. Now, because this is without return type, we cannot give return result here. In this category, we are not returning the result back to main. Main is a calling function and fact is the called function. We are not returning any value. There is no return type. So what do we do with this answer? The user needs to know the answer. So we will calculate and print it in the function itself. So we have printed factorial of n is 120. First percentage d corresponds to n, second percentage d corresponds to result. So factorial of 5 is 120. We also declare the required variables. Note that these are all local variables, right? N, result and I are local to the function fact. They can be used only in fact. If we need to use it outside or in main, we have to declare it here after stdio.h so that it becomes a global variable. So now because it is inside the function, it is a local variable. So let us see here a quick program execution, right? So this is program number 2, right? P2.c, I'll just name. So here we have the program category 1 without parameter and without return type. So we have the function here, and in the main function, main we have called fact. So this is without parameter and without return value. Let's execute this. So here we will first compile. So GCC, this is the command for compiling the program. P2.c, P2 name of the function, .c is the extension for any C program. So it is compiling, and once we get back the prompt, it means there is no error. So A is for execution in MinGW. So it asks us for a number. Let's say we give 5. So we get the answer. Factorial of 5 is 120. Right? So this is the implementation. So the output looks exactly same as executing without functions, right? So here the only difference is whenever we call it repeatedly, say we can call it many times with any number of input, it becomes easier to code. So going back, so here we have the first category. Let us see the next each one. So here second category is problem 3 in the lab sheet 4. So that is without parameter but with return type. So here we don't pass any parameter but we are getting back the answer to main, right? So let us see the main. First we define header file and then the control starts from main. So here we declare the result variable. So this is where we will get back the result. So result equal to fact is the function call. Note that there is no parameter passed, but we have a return value. What is the data type of result? It is integer. So return type of the function should be specified as int. Let us see this. So here we need to first find the factorial of the value of n. So we take input for n. The execution is pretty much similar to the previous problem. So here again we are initializing result to 1 and then calculating the result, which is factorial. So I'll not repeat the same thing again. This code is to find the factorial of n, right? So we can give n as 5, 6, 7, whatever we like. So it finds the factorial and the value answer is available in the variable result. Now we are here to see the difference between categories, right? We understood how to find factorial. The logic is the same, but the way of representing is different. So using all the 4 categories. So here, if we see, we are not having any parameter, without parameter. So fact and without parameter. The prototype gives us the majority of information. There is no parameter, but there is a return type. So int is the return type. We have got the answer in result. Say if we pass n as 5, we have found 120 is the result. It is there in the variable res, right? So factorial, 5 factorial is 120, which is there in the variable res. Now that is the answer which we have to return. So this is the main statement when we say return result. So here we are returning the value 120 back to the main function. So from here, the control had passed to factorial function and fact was found, and return result, the control comes back to the same statement. So fact has returned 120, that integer value gets stored to res. So in res, here we have the answer 120. So we can print it in the main function. So only difference was in without return type previous category, we printed the result here directly. But here in category 2, we are returning the result in the main and then printing it in the main function. So factorial is equal to %d. Let us see the execution for the same. So we have notepad as a command P3 problem 3. So category 2 is without parameter but with return type. So here we have the function definition. The first line is the function declaration or the prototype. So after function we have the main function wherein we are calling. So this statement is again very important. Function call. Without function call, the function will not execute. We may have defined 100 number of function definitions. If we don't call it, it does not execute. So once we call, that means the function executes. So this is called, the function is called, it executes, calculate the factorial, return the result, and then we will print it. So let us execute this same way, compiling the program. So I'll just clear this screen, right? So compiling notepad p3.c is the command for opening the program. So GCC to compile. So execute this. So if I give the same 5, so factorial is equal to 120. We can also execute with a.exe. Say I give 8. So 8 factorial is 40,320. So this is execution of category 2. Now going back to the slideshow, we have the next problem, which is problem 4. It is category 3, third type of function, which is with parameter but without return type. So let us see this. With parameter means we have to pass a parameter. So to pass a parameter, we need its value. So in the main function itself, we will take the value as input. Note this was given inside the function in previous cases because it was without parameter, right? So parameter n value was taken input in the function, but here it is with parameter. So we will take input for n and then pass that as the parameter. And it is without return type. So we will not get back the answer unlike the second category. So we will print the answer in the function itself. So fact of n is the function call. As soon as compiler encounters this, say we have taken n as 5. So fact of 5 is passed. Now this will be going to the function declaration. Note the function declaration. This is a prototype also. It gives us information. Say what is that? We have a parameter passed which is int n. Name of the function is fact and void indicates there is no return type. We are not returning any answer back to main. So here we have got the value of n. If we have entered 5, n is 5. Now we declare the required variables result and I. The execution or the logic is similar. So we find the factorial. So if n is 5, we find 5 factorial, which is 120. That is stored in result. And since this is without return type, we will not return result. If we are not returning result, how will the user know the value? We have to print it in the function itself so that the answer is printed in the console. Note that the execution is pretty similar. If we see the output screen for all the 4 categories as well as the program without function, the output is very much similar. But only the way of implementation is different, right? So here we are printing the factorial value within the function. Let us execute this. So clearing the screen CLS. So this is program number 4. So with parameter and without return type, right? So this is the function definition with parameter and without return type. So we are printing the value within the function, and in the main we have the function call. Note this function call is very important, right? So let's compile. Execution. So if we are finding say 6 factorial, 6 factorial is 720. If we want to find 5 factorial, 5 factorial is 120. So like this, we can execute. So you can see that the output is very much similar to other categories. The way of execution is different. Going back, we have seen 3 categories. Then we have the last 4th one, which is with parameter and with return type. That means we specify both the parameter and we get back the return value, right? So in the main function, we declare n, which is the input, result, which is output. So we are going to take input for n because we have to pass it as a parameter. So then we are going to get back the result. We will store it in RES. Note the function call. So n is the actual parameter, and we calculate factorial of n and get back the answer, which is stored in result. So once we get the function call, control passes to the function. Whatever statement we have later, it will be executed after the function completes. So function will execute the entire function definition and control will come back to result, and then the function program continues. So if we see this line is function declaration or the function prototype. We can observe few things here. We have the function with parameter. So int n. Here the name of actual and formal parameter is same. It may be same or it may be different. But the number of parameters, that is 1, should be same. The data type, here also it is integer, and here also we have integer. Data type as well as the order. Since we have only 1, so no problem of order. We have only 1 parameter. So the data type of actual and formal parameter also should be same. And also we have a return type. We are returning the answer which is of type integer. So that is returned to result. Let us see the execution. Say we give 6 here. So 6 we have to find factorial of 6. So that is stored to n. So 6 is copied to n. Now n value here as formal parameter is also 6. We will calculate this. Result and I are local variables for this. Now note this result is different from this result. This may be stored in some address of 100. This result may be stored in address of 200, right? So this is a local variable. We are initializing result to 1 because basic operation is multiplication. 1 is the multiplicative identity. And the same logic we use to find the factorial. Multiply each number by I, incrementing every time until we reach n. Once I value is greater than n, we will stop. So at the end of this logic, result has the factorial value. So 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5 into 6. So every time we multiply, and then at the end we get 720 as the result. Since this is with parameter and with return type, so we have to return the answer result. So return result. And when we return this, as soon as return is encountered, it comes back to function call. So it has returned 720. This 720 gets stored to RES and we have to print it. So factorial of 6 is 120. We print this. Let's see a quick execution for this. So CLS program number 5. right? So this is the fourth category with parameter and with return type. So that's what we can see in the prototype as well. There is a parameter, there is return type as integer. So this is the function definition. The first line being the function declaration or the prototype. And then we have the main function. So in the main function, we are calling the factorial function, which is user defined. So here we are calling with parameter and we will get back the return type result and we will print it. Compiling the same GCC. Let's execute. If we give 6. So factorial of 6 is 120. Say we want some other factorial of say 7. Factorial of 7 is 5040. Similarly, we can give any number of inputs, any type, all integers, right? Any number of inputs and see different test cases. Okay. So going back, we have seen the 4 categories. So we know how to find factorial of a number. We have done that without functions previously. Now we saw the same factorial program in 4 different categories of functions that is based on the parameter and return type. Now let us see what is this problem 1. So in the lab sheet, we have problem 1, which is the having the statement as such. So Mr. Aditya is given the task to write the code to find NCR. He knows that he has to find out the factorial of the number. Help Mr. Aditya to code to get the required answer. So here first let us see what is NCR. So like we know, NCR is n factorial by n minus r factorial into r factorial, right? So that is the formula for NCR. So what does this mean? To find NCR, we need the value of n and r. So whenever we have a problem at hand, first thing to analyze is what is the input required. So if we see this, input required is the value of n and value of r, right? To find NCR, we need to know what is n and what is r. Next, what is the output? Output is NCR value. What is the logic? Logic is the given formula, right? Logic is NCR can be found by using the formula NCR equal to n factorial divided by n minus r factorial into r factorial. Now we know the logic. How can we implement this? So to implement, first we have to find n factorial, then we have to find n minus r factorial, and also we have to find r factorial. Now after doing this, say we store them in different variables and we have to apply this formula n factorial by n minus r factorial into r factorial. We will get the required result NCR. Let us see the same. It is given in the question. What are the requirements? So requirements is first capture the value of n and r. That is the input. Input is the value of n and the value of r. Say we give 5 and 3. So we have to find 5C3, for example. So next, we have to compute the factorial of n, right? So n factorial we have to find. Then factorial of r also is required. Factorial of n minus r is also required. So if we say example 5C3, 5 factorial we have to find, 3 factorial as well as 5 minus 3, that is 2 factorial. So once we find this, apply the formula and compute NCR value. Next, we have computed, we have to display the value of NCR. So this is the problem statement. What do we analyze from this problem? We need input n and r. Output is the value of NCR. Logic is to find NCR using the formula. For this, we have to implement. To find we need to find factorial of n, factorial of r, factorial of n minus r. Once we find these 3 values, we will substitute them in the formula and get the value of NCR and then print it. So this is the main logic. So in problem 1, we will see how to implement this without using functions. Note that we are using only the main. We are not going to implement different function here. We are just having, if without function, we have to write this program. Let us see what happens. So first and foremost, we need the value of n and r. So that is the input. So take input from the user, n value and r value. Say 5 and 3 or 4 and whatever, 4 and 2, whatever we want to take as input, n and r. Next, we have certain conditions to find NCR. We need to check all of them. So if n is less than r, we cannot find out NCR. So that is the rule for finding the NCR value. So n should be greater than r. If n is less than r, we just display, we cannot compute NCR. Next, else if n is equal to r, so that means the value is 1. We know that. So 5C5 is nothing but 1. So in this case, we can simply display 1. Value of NCR is 1. If n is not equal to r, that means n is greater than r. So other than this, so n is not less than r, n is not equal to r. That means n is greater than r. It satisfies our required condition. Now we have to find NCR, right? So in the else part, we will find the value of NCR using the formula. So first we will declare all the required variables. N and R is input, NCR is the result, I is required for the for loop index. Say we store fact1 as 1, say n factorial, fact2 will be r factorial, fact3 we can store n minus r factorial. We have taken 3 variables so that we can easily compute the factorials and then substitute in the formula. So that is the reason we take 3 variables, fact1, fact2 and fact3. Then we also have the header file and main as usual. And then say we have given 5 and 3. So it satisfies the condition. 5 is not less than 3. 5 is not equal to 3. So here control comes to else part. Now we need to compute 5C3. How do we do this? 5C3, n is 5, r is 3. So 5 factorial by 5 minus 3 factorial into 3 factorial. So that will give us 5C3. So we know the formula. So step by step we will compute. First we need to compute n factorial. So say we give this is the part of the code. So fact1, since it is multiplication, so we are going to initialize with the multiplicative identity 1. Resultant variable should always be initialized with the identity. Otherwise, we will get some garbage value when we multiply. So like we have the factorial logic, we are multiplying up to n, right? So this is for n factorial. So I is equal to 1, I less than equal to n, I fact plus plus. So fact1 is equal to fact1 into I. Like we have found result. So we know the logic of finding factorial. Every time we are going to multiply. So if it is n is 5, as per this input, it multiplies. So 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. So fact1 will hold 120. Similarly, next part we will find r factorial. So that for that we need a resultant variable fact2. We initialize to 1 multiplicative identity. And similarly, instead of n, we have r here. So 1 into 2 into 3. So we find r factorial using this code. So fact2 will store r factorial. That is 1 into 2 into 3. It stores the value as 6. So here we have found n factorial and we have found r factorial. Next step we have to find n minus r factorial. So let us say we store that in fact3. So fact3 is initialized to 1 and we have the similar logic n minus r, I less than equal to n minus r. So 5 minus 2. So 2, I less than equal to 2. So here we find 2 factorial, 2 into 1, that is 2. So fact3 is going to hold the value of n minus r factorial. So once we get all these 3 values, next step is simply substitute fact1 divided by this is fact3 and this is fact2. So NCR is fact1 divided by fact2 into fact3. So here we may write r factorial into n minus r factorial. So both are same, right? So here we have the NCR value. Note that we have repeatedly done the same step again and again. Fact1, fact2, fact3 is found. Substitute in the function, in the formula, we will get the value of NCR. So here we will print the value of NCR, right? So that then we close else and then we close the bracket for main, right? So here we have found n factorial in this code. Next part, similarly, we have found r factorial and then again we have found n minus r factorial. the same thing is repeated 3 times. Note that we have not used function and we have to repeat the same code again and again, right? So we will see another alternative next also. Let us first execute this program, right? So here we have clearing the screen. So first we have the problem 1 of lab sheet 4, which is to find a factorial or the value of NCR without using functions, right? So as we have seen, taking input for n, if n is less than r, we cannot compute NCR, so we print the corresponding message. If n is equal to r, NCR is just 1, so we print value of NCR is 1. Else, say if I see 3, so then we have 5 greater than 3. So first we will compute n factorial, next we will compute r factorial, and then we will compute n minus r factorial. So storing each of them respectively in fact 1, fact 2 and fact 3. So then substitute those values in the formula, we will get NCR. Then we will print the value of NCR. So this is the same program. So let's compile GCC. Now, when we execute, let's give the same 5 and 3. N is 5 and R is 3. So 5C3 is 10. 5 factorial is 120 divided by 2 factorial is 2 into 3 factorial is 6. Right? So 120 divided by those values. The value is 10. 120 divided by 12 is 10. So 5C3 is 10. So we have printed the value of NCR. If we want to execute with some other value, right? So 5, say we give 8. So N is 8 and say R is 2. 8C2 is 28. Similarly, you can calculate and find. So minimum of 2 test cases. So here, say we execute, just clear the screen. If we give the value of N less than R, 5, 3 and 5. So 3 is less than 5. So we cannot compute NCR. And if we give, say, equal, N is also 5, R is 5, a value of NCR is 1, right? So if we want the same, so here we can see all the 3 test cases. So N is less than R, we cannot compute NCR. N is equal to R, value of NCR is 1. Then if N is greater than R, 5C3, we compute and display. The value of 5C3 is 10, right? So this is the execution of the problem without using functions. Now problem 6 in lab sheet 4 is the same problem but using functions. So we need to find NCR using this function. Here we can appreciate the usage of functions. So instead of executing the same again and again, instead of writing the code repeatedly, we can use the concept of functions. Let us see how to do this. So in this, we can use any of the 4 categories, right? Using with parameter, with return type, without parameter, with return type, with parameter, without return type, or without parameter, without return type. So those are the 4 categories of functions. We may use any type for implementing this. So in this case, we have considered the implementation with the parameter and with return type. It can be used with any of the 4 categories. It will work similarly. So this is the definition of the factorial, like we know. So we have declared one result, int n, n value we have passed. So this n is simply a variable, a formal parameter. It may take the value as n or r or n minus r. Whatever we pass as the value, it gets copied to formal parameter. So this logic is for finding factorial, right? Result equal to 1, result equal to result into I. This logic is similar to the ones we have just executed, problem 2, 3, 4, 5. Same logic to find factorial. But here along with that, we will find NCR also. Let us see. In the main function, we are declaring the required variables. N and R are inputs. NCR is the output. I is required for the for loop logic. And then fact 1 to store n factorial. Fact 2 will store r factorial. Fact 3 will store n minus r factorial. But the calculation here will be done by using the function. We will not write the same code again and again. Let's see how to do this. So first, we are going to see the function. We know that the formula NCR is equal to n factorial by n minus r factorial into r factorial. So first we have to check the condition taking input. So n and r is taken as input. So say we give 5 and 3, taking the same example so that we can compare and understand easily. So 5C3 we have to find. So again we need to check for the condition. If n is less than r, we cannot compute NCR. So we display that message. Else if n is equal to r, NCR value is simply 1. So we print value of NCR is 1. Else that means n is greater than r. So like our input 5 and 3, right? 5 is greater than 3. We have to find 5C3. So for that we need to find n factorial, r factorial and n minus r factorial. If we compare it to the previous problem, we have written that same code 3 times. So that need not be done. Let us see, if we are not repeatedly writing, how do we calculate each factorial? So we will see first fact 1, we will simply call factorial of n. So this is one function call. Once we call this, n is 5. So actual parameter is 5. It gets copied to the formal parameter. So it finds the factorial of 5, 120 gets stored into fact 1. Next, we have another function call for the same. Note that now actual parameter is r, that is 3, right? Factorial of 3 is found. The value of r is the actual parameter that will get copied to the formal parameter in function definition. There it was n. So n now becomes 3, right? So when control goes back to the function definition and calculates the factorial of 3, which is 3 into 2 into 1, 6 is stored into fact 2. Next, we pass fact of n minus r. So 5 minus 3 is 2. So actual parameter value 2 gets copied to formal parameter in the function. So n value becomes 2 and we find factorial of that. So that is 2 into 1. It returns as 2. So 2 is stored back to fact 3. So fact 1 is n factorial. Fact 2 is r factorial. Fact 3 is n minus r factorial. So we got all the required values. We will substitute them. Note that when you see this, we just have 3 lines. Instead of repeating the same code, instead of having 9 or 10 lines, we have reduced it to only 3 lines. So when we are calling this, say in applications with 100 times, so the length of the code reduces considerably. So we are going to reduce it to a lot greater extent. So this is one of the advantage of using functions. So just 3 lines will perform the same execution as compared to the previous problem. There we had 9 or 10 lines of code which can be reduced to these 3 lines. So we got the value of n factorial, r factorial and n minus r factorial. Now we substitute that. So fact 1 is 5 factorial, 120. Fact 2 is r factorial, that is 3 factorial, 3 into 2 into 1, 6. Fact 3 is 5 minus 3, that is 2 factorial, 2 into 1 is 2. So 120 divided by 6 into 2. 6 into 2 is 12. 120 divided by 12, we get the answer as 10. 5C3 is 10. We will print it. Note the answer is returned back and stored in these variables. So with parameter and with return type. Then we substituted back in the formula and calculated NCR. NCR is 10. We display that. NCR value is 10. Right? And then we close the bracket for else. So every open bracket should have a matching closing bracket and then close the main. Let's see the program execution quickly. So here, clearing this screen, this is problem number 6. So here we have the updated program with function, right, to find NCR. So this is a single function which executes repeatedly. N value was 5 and then to find r factorial, so n becomes 2, then 5 minus 3. So n minus r factorial is 2, now n becomes 2. So here every time the value which is passed will change, right? So n factorial, n was 5. Then when it comes to r factorial, this value becomes 3. When it comes to n minus r factorial, so 5 minus 3, so this n value becomes 2, right? So this n is different from the n used in main, right? That is actual parameter. This n is formal parameter. So here this factorial function is called repeatedly and we find the values. So based on the condition, so after taking input for n and r, check the required condition and give corresponding message. If n is greater than r, then find factorial of n. So here n value is 5. So we pass the parameter, actual parameter 5, and the control now goes back to the function after this line. So n value is 5. Find the factorial of 5. 120 is returned back, right? So that gets stored to fact1. Next, we are passing actual parameter as r. R is 3. So this is the value of actual parameter r3. It gets copied to the formal parameter n. So n becomes 3. Now we have to find 3 factorial and 3 into 2 into 1. So 6 is the answer that is getting returned back. So 6 is returned back from this. So it control comes back here and then 6 is stored to fact2. Now note, again we are calling the same function fact but with the parameter value as n minus r. Parameter value changes 5 minus 3. We are passing as 2. The actual parameter is 2. So n minus r gets copied to the formal parameter n. Now in this execution n is 2. Every time the value keeps changing. Note that. So now n is 2. We have to find 2 factorial. So in this case, we find the value as 2 factorial, 2 into 1, that is 2 is returned back and 2 gets stored to fact3. Once we have found fact n factorial, r factorial and n minus r factorial in the respective variables, we will substitute that in the formula n factorial divided by r factorial into n minus r factorial. So substituting, we get the result as NCR. So 5C3 we get as 10. That is computed and printed. Let's execute this. So compiling, when we compile GCC, execute, say 5C3. So 5C3 is 10. If we execute with the other, so say 3 and 5, 8. So n is less than r, cannot compute. If we say 3 and 3, so NCR is 1, right? So any number of executions can be done, right? So clearing, so execute, say 7 C4, that is 35. Similarly, we can execute for any number of test cases. So it is always better we have one test case with n greater than r and another test case with say n less than r, another test case with n equal to r, right? All the 3 test cases should be there, right? So we can see all the 3 test cases. This is the execution of NCR program using functions. So here we can see that the length of the code reduces drastically, right? So a lot of code is reduced to just 3 lines. So this is problem 6. So till here we have passed integers. We may pass similarly floating point or any other data type. Similarly, we can have the return type given. Let us see another variation where we pass arrays as parameter to the function. So that is problem 7. How do we implement this? What is the problem statement for problem 7? That is, we have to write a C program to read the values to an array and pass this array to the function. What is the function? So signature is like the function declaration statement. So which is to find if it is prime or not. So this signature or the function prototype gives us a lot of information. Name of the function is prime. There is no return value, void, nothing, null is returned. So we may print the result within the function itself. And we are passing parameters two parameters. The first one is an array. As we can see, a and square bracket indicates that we are passing an array. If you compare it with previous problem, there we had passed a single variable, but here we are passing the entire array. We may simply mention the name of the array, so it will take the values from the array, and we are passing another value n also. So what is this statement? So this prime function has to check if each element in the array is prime or not. If it is divisible by only itself and 1, then it is prime. So that is what we know. That is the definition of prime number. So we have to check if the array element is prime or not. This we have to check for each and every array element. Now consider if there are 100 elements. If we have to implement this without function, then that part of the code we have to repeatedly write 100 times, which is a very tedious procedure, and that we can reduce to a lot of extent by using function. So simply calling this function will help us to reduce the code by a very large extent. Now we have to check if each element of the array is prime or not. Once we check, what should we do? So if the array is prime, if array is not prime, set that value to 0, because we want to find which elements of the array are prime numbers. So in case it is not prime, like 4, 9, all these are not prime. They are divisible by numbers other than itself and 1, right? So those numbers which are not prime has to be set to 0. Change that number and make it 0. We have seen modifications on array values. Similarly here, in case the array element is prime, then we have to print them. So we will not change the value of the array element. We will leave it as it is, and in the main we will print them. So in this case, we need the input for number of elements in the array, so that we can take input for the array. So another input will be array element, and output is to display the array, but only the prime numbers in the array. How do we execute this? So we saw the input and output. So we have to first find if each element is prime or not. So once we find that, if we see the array, each array element, a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, a of 4, for example, if n is 5, we have 5 elements. We will check one by one. If a of 0 is prime, its value remains. Say it is 3, it remains. If a of 1 is 4, that means it is not prime. So a of 1 has to be changed to 0. Then we check a of 2. Similarly, check a of 3, a of 4. If the value of the array element is not prime, change it to 0. If it is prime, the value is remain as it is. Now next we will print the array elements. If the value is not 0, it is not prime, we will print it. If it is 0, don't print it. So that is the logic. Let us see how to implement it. So we saw the problem statement. How do we implement this? So first we have the header file, and note that we are declaring int count equal to 0. This is declared before main and before any function. So this count is a global variable. It can be used anywhere throughout the program. So that is the difference between global and local variable. Global variable can be used anywhere throughout the program. Local variable can be used only within that particular function. So count is a global variable. Count is a global variable. It can be used anywhere throughout the program. It is initialized to 0. So to count, here we have the global variable. So first we will start the control. We may have defined any function here, but the control starts from main. So it starts here. So for the compiler, it just says that there is some function defined. So it control always starts from main. So here we are declaring a few variables. I and n is the number of elements of the array, and we are declaring an integer array of size 50. So maximum we can store 50 integers, right? So let's take input. So first we need to take input for the number of elements. So that is n, and then we take input for the array elements. So I equal to 0. Array index starts from 0. I less than n, I plus plus. So like we take input for an array. So here we are taking input for array A. Next, we are calling the prime. So note that this is function call. Name of the function is prime. Since we don't mention anything, So some result equal to prime, we don't mention that. So because it is without return type, this may be executed with any of the categories. Here we are implementing with the category of with parameter and without return type. So parameters passed are a comma n. Note that this a is the array. So here we need not specify anything else, just the name of the array is enough. So a comma n is the number of elements or the size of the array. So once we call the function, control directly passes to the function definition. So it comes here. Please note the order of the array elements, order of the actual parameters. Sorry, actual parameters are a and n here. Here also a and n. The names may be different, but here we have given same. Order is the same. Yes, first one is an array. So here as well we have given first parameter is array in the formal parameter. Next we have one integer n. So that is also the same. The data types are same. So this integer array is there, and here also it is integer. Next parameter, actual parameter is int. The second formal parameter is also int. The number of actual parameters is 2. Number of formal parameters is 2. This is what the compiler checks first. So it matches the order of the actual parameter is same as order of the formal parameters. The number of actual parameters is same as number of formal parameters. The data types of actual parameters match with the data type of formal parameters. Once this is checked, compiler sees that it matches, otherwise it will throw an error. So now since it matches, it will continue with the function definition. So it is void, that means the compiler understands that there is no return value. We will be printing that here itself. So let us see how to execute this. So first we need to find, we have got the array elements already. We have got the number of array elements also. For each array element, now what should we do? We have the array, we have the number of elements. We need to check each of the array element if it is prime or not. So the first logic, so here we take 2 for loops, right, to find prime or not. I and j are the index for the for loop. So first we have to divide by 1, 2, 3 and so on. We have to divide each that element of the array. So if I and j starts from 0, right? So here, sorry, j will be starting. So we need not divide by 0. Divide by 0 will give us error. So if we divide by 1, anyway, all numbers are divisible. So j we will start from 2. Okay. And I, because it is index of the array, index always starts from 0. So I value is 0 and j value starts from 2. I starts from 0, j starts from 2. Now, a of 0, percentage 2, is it divisible by 2? We will check. So if say for example, a of 0 is 3. So 3, is it divisible by 2? No, right? So it is prime number. So if it is not divisible, so it is, condition is false. So we don't increment anything. Come back. Now 3, we will have to check till less than a of I. So note the condition. 2, when it increments again, it becomes 3. 3 less than a of I, 3, no. So this for loop completes. Now I has to change. So first element a of 0 is 3. It does not change because 3 is prime. Now I becomes 1. So n, if we have given 5 for example, so a of 1 has to be checked. A of 1 for example, if it is 4. Okay. So again j starts from 2, right? So 4 percentage 2, yes, 4 is divisible by 2. 4 percentage 2 will give us 0. Condition is true. So now a of I will change to 0. So a of 1 is become 0. So increment count. Now we are incrementing this so that we see if all the elements of array are prime or not, right? So here count increments. Count was 0. It is a global variable. It can be accessed every time in main also. So count becomes 1 because we found among the 2 elements we checked, there is one prime number, right? A of 1 is non-prime. So 1 non-prime number. So count becomes 1. Now again, since this is done, we will check again with the other values. 2 and 3, 4 is not divisible by 3. Then when j becomes 4, 4 is not less than 4, condition is false. So j loop completes. Now I becomes 2. We have to check for a of 2. Like this it continues. If a of 2 we have given as say 6, we know that it is non-prime. But how does it get checked? A of 2 will be checked. So a of 2 has to be divided. So that is 6 percentage 2. We see that it is divisible. So it becomes 0. So a of 2 is changed to 0. Count gets incremented, right? So count was 1. Now count becomes 2. We got the second non-prime number. Now if we increment j, again j this 3. So now it gets implemented to, so it becomes 0. So we have got the implementation. Now I has to be incremented again. So I becomes 3. So then a of 3 is checked. So if a of 3 is a prime number, this condition will be false, right? A of 5 percentage d, we will not get 0 as a reminder. So it will not execute this. So a of 3 is given as 5. 5 is prime, it will not execute. So then a of 4 will be checked. So similarly, when I becomes 5, 5 less than 5, condition is false. So this stops. So we see that if a of 5 was non-prime, it has changed to 0. So only a of 0 and a of 3 are there. All others are non-prime, right? So all others have become 0. So a of 0 is 3, a of 3 is given as 5. All others have changed to 0. Now, if count equal to n, so that means there are no prime numbers. All of them have been changed to 0. So we will not print anything. Now note that this, because it is global variable, even though the value was changed within the function, its value is available in main. Right? After executing this, the function comes back here. We are not printing anything though, but we have changed the value in count, which will be sent. So it is available in main. So if all the numbers, all the elements of the array were not prime, count would have incremented 5 times. So 5 equal to 5. That means all are non-prime. So there are no prime numbers. In case if it is not so, then there are some prime numbers. So what are the prime numbers? The ones which are not changed to 0. So if the value is equal to 0, we need not print. Only if a of I is not equal to 0, it is prime. So then we will print. So if a of I is not equal to 0, print that a of I. For example, a of 0 is equal to, that is 3, it is printed. A of 3 is printed, that is 5. So all others, a of 1 is changed to 0, a of 2 is changed to 0, a of 4 is changed to 0. So we have only 2 prime numbers in the array. So those are checked. So from starting from index 0 up to n, a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, a of 4. All the 5 numbers are checked. Only those which are not equal to 0, that is the prime numbers, are printed. Right? Let us see an execution for the same. So a quick execution, clearing the screen. So we have program number 7. So this program 7 is to implement sending array as a parameter to function. So we are sending 2 parameters. These are formal parameters of the function, and we are passing the parameters here. So this is the function call, the main thing. If we don't have this statement, the function will not work and we will not get any result. Function call is the main step, right? So we are passing the parameters. These are the actual parameters. So the execution is just what we discussed. So let us compile this. GCC, okay, executing this. Let us give this just what we discussed, 5 number of elements in the array. So if we give a of 0 is 3, a of 1 is 4, a of 2 is 6, a of 3 is 5, a of 4 is 8. So we gave these array elements. Now if we analyze, so a of 3 is prime, so it remains. A of 4 is non-prime, it is divisible by 2, right? So it becomes 0. So a of 2 is 6, this is also non-prime, so it changes to 0. So a of 3 is 5, So this is prime number, it remains. A of 4 is 8. It is non-prime. It gets changed to 0. So after we give this, only 2 elements are left. So 3 and 5. So what happens to array? It changes as 3, 0, 0, 5, 0. Now we need to print only the prime numbers. So our expected output is 3 and 5 only. Only those two are prime numbers. So here prime numbers are 3 and 5. All these others 4, 6, 8 are non-prime. They are divisible by numbers other than itself and 1, right? So 4 is divisible by 2, 6 divisible by 2 and 3, 4, 8 is divisible by 2 and 4 and so on. So those are non-prime numbers, so they get changed to 0. Only prime numbers remain, so that is 3 and 5. So that gets printed, right? So this is the output for problem 7. So this can be implemented again. So let us say we give like this, right? We give 10 array elements like this. Out of this, if we want to know what are the prime numbers. So prime numbers are 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. 4, 6, 8 and 10, 9 and 10 are non-prime. So this is the execution of problem 7, right? So this is about the execution, right, and finding the prime numbers of the array using functions. Thank you.